What sets Jake apart is that the next day he took action, posting on the internet that he was going to Haiti and enlisting friends to join him. Within days, Jake and 3 others headed to Haiti. Shortly after their inception went viral, they started connecting with doctors and Team Rubicon was born, a rapid response disaster relief organization that unites the skills of military veterans and medical professionals. At 27, Jake had already graduated from college and served his country in both Iraq and Afghanistan, but he felt that there was more work to be done. Jake is a perfect example of the power of being proactive. Keep in mind that during his talk, Team Rubicon is in Haiti right now, helping rebuild. Thanks, Jake.
Ladies and gentlemen, if you're like me, and I imagine that you are, you turned on your television screen January 12th, and you may have thought that the world was coming to an end. The earthquake that struck Haiti was devastating. It was epic. It was biblical. By the time the dust settled, 250,000 people were dead. It's 3 NFL stadiums gone, wiped from this earth. Same number of people lie wounded. Police and government had shut down. Millions of people were living in the streets without shelter or food or clean water. It was a nation on the absolute brink of anarchy. And the people of Haiti needed our help. They needed the world's help, and the world opened up its arms and delivered that help. Governments pledged billions of dollars. Individuals like yourself and I texted $10 at a time in record absurd numbers. Search and rescue teams were flown in from all around the globe. But instead of a rapid, smooth response, the deteriorating security situation caused images like this to flood our television screens. Images of frustration, images of food and water and supplies lying idle on the tarmac of the Port-au-Prince airport. What we had wasn't an inability or an unwillingness to help, but rather an inability to manage chaos. What we found was that getting aid to Haiti was pretty easy. Distributing aid to Haitians was rather difficult. And so it begs the question, what can be done? What can we do to make this better? Listen, we're not going to stop natural disasters from happening. Okay? They're here to stay, and they're going to continue to get worse because populations are migrating towards hydrological features, and they're going to continue to increase in magnitude, and the death tolls are going to continue to rise. So the solution lies in the response. But how can we improve this response? What resource do we have that can make this response better? How can we improve it? Well, the First Lady, Michelle Obama, in her recent closing remarks to the Clinton Global Initiative, proposes a solution, not just for this, but for a lot of problems. And she highlights the work that our organization at Team Rubicon is doing.
And right now, across America and around the world, there are countless examples of veterans who are using their skills and experience to continue their service as civilians. They're working at American schools and communities as teachers and coaches, role models for our kids. They're training for green jobs, retrofitting homes and offices, and conserving public lands. One group of veterans even runs an organization called Team Rubicon that responds to natural disasters. They trek into some of the most remote areas of the world to provide medical aid to thousands of people in need.
It's an interesting solution. A lot of times we do send our military to respond to natural disasters. But why can't we use our veterans? And how big is this potential solution, this resource that the First Lady proposes? Just how big is the potential here? It turns out it's pretty big. 1.8 million. 1.8 million. That's the number of Iraq and Afghanistan veterans we have in America today. Men and women who have volunteered to go overseas into dangerous environments to serve their country, to serve you and me. Men and women who've slept in the mud, who've led teams in uncertain situations. 1.8 million, and that number grows every single day. And the unique thing is that these 1.8 million vets, even though they've taken off their uniform, they still want to serve. Service is still important to them. This poll was taken almost a year ago today. 92% feel that serving their communities is still important. I'm just one tiny part of that 1.8 million. Well, I guess I'm a 6'6" tall, tiny part of that 1.8 million, but As a Marine sniper, I was a veteran of both Iraq and Afghanistan. And when I saw the images unfolding on the television screen, January 12th, I knew that I had a special set of skills, and I had gone through a unique set of experiences that enabled me to have a positive impact on the situation that was developing in Port-au-Prince. But my phone calls for help were met with denials for service. And so I decided that I was going to try to organize a group of veterans to go down there and have an impact. Two people answered my call, Jeff Lang and William McNulty, and Team Rubicon was born. We found ourselves in Port-au-Prince, a group of veterans and doctors and firefighters, and we found ourselves going to refugee camps that nobody else would go to because they were too dangerous, because they were too far out. They were too far from hospitals. There were no supplies to get there. We looked at that situation and said, to hell with it, we will get there. At one point, we even found ourselves running the emergency room department of the largest operating hospital in Port-au-Prince. We had just delivered patients from a destroyed AIDS clinic, and upon delivering them to the emergency room of the general hospital, we found it in complete chaos. And so we stayed there rather than going back to the refugee camps and restored order to that hospital for 2 days. But of all the profound moments that we had inside of Haiti, one sticks out in particular. We were driving through the city and we came across this sign, and it reads, "Forgotten area, 6,000 people, we need help." So we pulled off to the side of the road and we investigated. And I looked down into the valley, and this is what I saw. I saw death and destruction. The valley walls had collapsed down to the center, a landslide of cinder blocks and corrugated roofing and bodies. We decided that we needed to get down there, so we parked our truck and we grabbed our packs and we prepared to climb down through that rubble to get to the people at the bottom. And before we stepped off, I had a moment, an epiphany, if you will. And I realized something pretty profound but pretty simple. Veterans are damn good at disaster response. Why are they so good? Well, I told you. These are men and women who have gone overseas. They volunteered before to sleep in the mud. They've been trained, cross-trained medically with advanced communications equipment. They've proven themselves in uncertain situations. They know how to lead and they know how to follow. But we've discovered something else in Haiti. Veterans are not only good at helping others, doing this service actually helps themselves. I'd like to introduce you to a very, very good friend of mine, a dear friend. This is Clay Hunt. Clay and I served together in Iraq. I was nearby Clay when Clay was shot. Clay and I were partners at sniper school. We deployed in the same sniper platoon to Afghanistan. We were discharged around the same time from the Marine Corps. Clay was diagnosed with PTSD. Clay went with us to Haiti, and he ended up going with us to Chile. And of all the things that the VA had done for him for his PTSD, this is what he said. It turns out that the cocktail of drugs that the doctors could give him, or all the sessions with a therapist, could not equal the therapy that he received from serving others. And this is powerful. But you know what's unfortunate is that even armed with this knowledge, studies show that people still just want to give to veterans. And certainly some veterans need help. They do. But I will speak for the majority of veterans today and say, we don't want charity, we want a challenge. But why have only 1 in 5 been asked to help, when helping is what's going to help them most? So taking this, we decided to continue with our model for disaster response. We decided to continue to challenge veterans. And we responded to the earthquake in Chile. After Chile, we came back and we decided we were going to conduct a training mission because we wanted to continue to engage our veterans and doctors. So we conducted a training mission to the Burma border. We trained 37 Karen refugee medics who then returned into Burma to serve as first responder and clinical medics for thousands of refugees who were suffering under the Burmese junta. And coming back from Burma, the world was faced with another disaster of epic proportions. A flood had come down from the highlands in Pakistan and displaced over 20 million people. But the world didn't seem to care this time. Now, the media coverage was down. Donations weren't even a fraction of what they were for Haiti. But the people of Pakistan still needed our help. And perhaps the reason people were leery of helping was because of this threat. But it was after this threat that we received a phone call from Dr. Dolhoun in San Francisco. Dr. Dolhoun has a proprietary medical formula that fights dehydration and cholera and diarrhea. And these were exactly what were going to be killing people in Pakistan. But Dr. Dolhoun says, I couldn't go to Pakistan without Team Rubicon. So we went to Pakistan. And we treated over 5,000 patients who were suffering from these diseases that are associated with a lack of clean water and shelter. Now, this was unique. This was incredibly unique because we took veterans, nearly 9 years after September 11th, veterans who had been in combat in the Middle East over the last 9 years, and we sent them back to the Middle East. But this time, not with guns or grenades, but with gauze and goodwill. They were there to help. They were there saving lives rather than taking lives. And it was powerful. They saved countless lives while in Pakistan. So at Team Rubicon, we've given a mission, a new mission to today's veterans. And that mission can be applied to each and every one of you. And 3 days from now, we'll be celebrating Veterans Day. But I'd like to issue you a challenge. This Veterans Day, while the majority of Americans are waving flags and putting yellow ribbons on their cars, I ask you to put your flags down, put your yellow ribbons away, and think. I want you to think about what problem it is that you're trying to solve, what problem it is that you are facing every single day. And I want you to think long and hard about how today's veteran may be able to help you address that problem. I want you, my challenge to you, is to find a way to engage today's veteran, to give them a new mission, to make that mission service. It'll help you solve your problem. It'll make the world a better place, and it will improve the life of one of our nation's heroes. Whatever your problem is, whether it's fighting homelessness, whether it's improving education, or saving the environment, I challenge you to use our 1.8 million veterans to help solve that problem. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Jake. You're a hero.
Thank you.
We're going to keep the show going. Jake has nobly made a conscious choice to help by going to the heart of disaster and finding solutions. Our next speaker has made a career of chronicling important stories, much like Jake's. Tom Yellen is co-founder and president of the documentary group, the successor of PJ Productions, a company Yellen started with Peter Jennings. Tom's credits range far and wide, from theatrical documentaries to primetime programming. His aim is to create nonfiction content of the highest quality